Hola, soy Henry de Nueva York y escucho el E.I.T.R podcast con mi amigo D.Cal.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.R podcast with D.Cal.
And happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy D.Cal here, hosting the E.I.T.R podcast, coming from the GNHHQ here in Northern California, United States of America, the left coast, sunny Sacramento. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning into episode number 45. That's shout out to Billy D. Williams, if you're old enough to know what that is. Congratulations on making it in this game called life to that level to recognize the real. If you don't know what that is, get back to your car seat. Listen, I want to give a shout out to all the listeners throughout the planet. Recognize I got some people right now in Japan who tuned into the podcast, and so I'm really excited that we're expanding a little bit to my people out in Florida, to Kansas City, to Oregon, to Texas, Canada, anywhere from Cincinnati to Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. Congratulations to my Las Vegas Aces on winning the WNBA championship. Congratulations, ladies. I used to be a huge WNBA fan when the league first started in the early 2000s, and my team was the New York Liberty. Rebecca Lobo and Therese Witherspoon. That was like in my opinion, the female version of Stockton Malone. And when that wave of players kind of just faded away, I kind of not faded away from the sport, but life kind of got in the way a little bit, and unfortunately, so did the momentum with the sport. And Sacramento had the Monarchs, which won the city's only basketball championship. And as a thank you, the city dismantled the team, which makes no damn sense. But hey, when you make that kind of money, you ain't gotta make sense. So again, wanted to give a shout out to the ladies over there, my WNBA crush, Kelsey Plum, who was their starting point guard out of Southern California. If you guys ever get a chance, because the tickets are so much cheaper than the men's game, and people use that as a way to make fun of the ladies, I'm suggesting, hey, take that opportunity and go get yourself a couple of tickets, sideline, and support the people, right? Unfortunately, anything that women do, everyone's going to compare to the men, which has been more established than the women's sports. But it's like James Brown said, baby, it's a man's world, but it wouldn't be anything without a woman's touch. And if anybody wants to crack on a joke or make a comment or anything smug about that, all I want to say is, next time your daughter comes up to you and wants to play a sport, make sure you tell her those same comments. Have that same energy for your little girl that wants to go out and be a professional, fill in the blank. She needs to hear this criticism from the people who love her the most, because you will, air quotes, set her straight. Anyone who's new to the E.I.T.R podcast, let me tell you how this works. So the E.I.T.R podcast is a podcast where we kind of discuss topics that are very hard to have conversations and dialogues with folks, especially on social media. Everyone has an opinion, and everybody is right, and nobody really listens to anyone. It's more of, I'm going to wait for you to finish so I can tell you what I got to say, versus hearing what you have to say, and maybe we can somewhere meet in the middle. So I try to do everything from a non-biased, right down the middle perspective. There's obviously no yelling, and I do everything I can to give it to you delicately, but at the same time directly. So there's a little sound effect that I usually have for elephant in the room. Topics, and it goes like this. So whenever you hear that sound effect throughout the podcast at any point in time, that's when we're going to be bringing the heat. So motivational today. First of all, I want to give a shout out. We give shout outs and do some inspiration from the podcast before we get started. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's listening to the podcast. Thank you very much. The weekend is here. A few more hours. Everyone's going to be able to lift their head down and kind of have a little bit of freedom for the next 48 hours. Good on you for making it through this week. Honestly, truly, really. Motivation, inspiration. What I would suggest is anybody, if you can, which we all can if we want to, take your ass off social media. Just log off for a day. Log off for a day. See what happens. Don't check it. If you need to turn the alert off, do that. If you need to uninstall the app, do that. If you need to log off the account completely, do that. From experience, man, I've logged off of social media for like a few days at a time. The most I think I've ever done it for was like a week. And I tell you, when you get back from that little social vacation, it is a different feeling. It really is. And within that time, you might want to try occupying yourself with, I don't know, fun shit. Go for a walk, listen to music, go bowling, play pool, talk to your family, that's about it. So we're going to get a shout out to our sponsor right quick, and then we're going to get right into this podcast. So give me a couple seconds and we'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Candace Romero, and it has been my absolute privilege and honor to be teaching people about doTERRA's essential oils for the last 9 years and helping people live their most vibrant life. If you'd like to learn more about my natural solutions, please feel free to contact me on Facebook at Bay Area Terra Tribe Essential Oils and Natural Solutions, or check out my website, my.doterra.com/Romero. That's my.doterra.com/ROMERO. Thank you.
This is Max from Sacramento, and you are listening to Decal with the E.I.T.H.R podcast.
Okay, so going back to the social media thing, I just want to reiterate to everyone, I'm not saying, run from your social media or hide from social media or deactivate your account with social media. No, nothing like that. It's simply, there's a lot of trolling that goes on with social media nowadays. And what I mean by trolling, it's not so much people making comments, but it's also people kind of doing bait posts. And I've recognized that because I've had a conversation with people about it, and I've experienced myself in the past couple of days where people are literally just doing things because honestly they know it pisses people off. And some people don't really know how to scroll past something without responding, whether it's good or bad. And if you are one of these people who you can say, you know what, I'm guilty of that. I see something, I have to respond to it. Maybe logging off is a good thing for you. I know myself, I see something and I have to set it straight, but then I also have to tell myself, it's like, you're having a conversation with some stranger on the internet that doesn't know you and probably doesn't give a fuck about what it is you have to say, because he, she, or they are set in their ways. Not only that, but these are the kind of people who are also putting up stuff just to get responses. They just want people to respond. That's it. And that's kind of, as I would tell people, it's how they make their friends. So from experience of just logging off for a day, logging off for a weekend, kind of go back how life was before the internet. You were outside, like I said, go for a walk. Let's say if you go for a 30-minute walk minimum, it helps you with your way of thinking. The teacher and my A1 both have told me, if you ever get the opportunity, go for a walk by a body of water. Like, the sound from the water has like these properties that also helps with depression and anxiety and calming and soothing. And I remember I was in Vallejo, California once, and it's true. 20, 30 minutes just sitting there and just listen to the water, man, it changes you. It changes you, which is probably another reason why houses that have lake views or lake fronts are so damn expensive, because it's soothing, which also makes me feel that's why a lot of Southern California has this stereotype. I'm not going to say it's valid, but I'm going to say it's a stereotype of being so, yo, bro, party on, dude, because the water is very soothing. The water is super calming. And so you're not so uptight, you're not so stressed. And that's probably why water babies are so chill. So I just want to put that out there for you guys. Log off, like I said, man, if you can log off for at least a day, it's kind of like being addicted to a drug because you're going to want to log in just to see what you're missing. But I can almost guarantee you, if you go MIA for one full day and nobody checks in, the only reason why they knew you were there was because you made your presence known. And if you don't make your presence known, they're not going to know you're gone. So, it's kind of one of those scenarios. Like I said, but it's also good just for your mental health to get away from all that bullshit that is circulating. And trust me, you're not missing anything but a bunch of drama. And a lot of us know that. So, enough of that. Like I said, I just wanted to share that with you guys because I figured a lot of you could use it. So, what we're going to do right now, I got two things I want to talk about. One of them, how do you measure success? And what I mean by success, I'm not talking about, well, I guess I am talking about that because it's included, because it's kind of a broad description. But when it comes to being successful, do you measure it by what other people view as successful? Before you give an instant response, before you just come out your mouth with a reaction, hear what I'm saying. Do you measure your success by what other people judge to be successful? Do you have goals that you set for yourself? And once you achieve those goals, is that successful? Do you have a certain celebrity, idol, admirer that you want to mimic? Is there a position at your job? Is there a certain number of money you want saved? Is there a location, a house, a neighborhood that you want to move to? How do you level success? How do you measure it? How do you define that? And everyone has a different definition of it. And I think it's very important to be sure everyone has a different definition of it, right? Because some people's definition of success is being able to have free time. That's it, right? I just want to be able to get my work done during the week and have nothing to worry about. Some people don't know what success is. Any money that I have in total, that I have money to use if I need it. Some wearing a certain brand, a certain size. What is yours? And I know it may change. Well, I'm asking that question. My level of success is, it's not like most people. And what I mean by that, mine's kind of backwards, where I work to have the lifestyle of a multimillionaire because that's where I want to be. I want to plant the seeds, which is why I have the clothing line, which is why I'm doing the podcast, which is why I'm doing the instrumentals and beats that you hear in the background, which is why I have the shoe line, which is the reason why I done a movie script, which is the reason why I'm coming up with all these different ideas, because I want to be in that realm. Now, whereas in reverse is I know for a fact, once I get there, I'm going to live the life as if I'm broke all over again. And it's a very unique concept, especially if you've never been on this path. Now, everybody wants to pretend to be a millionaire because that's the success that we see in what's portrayed. I know at least 2 separate millionaires. One in the East Coast, one down south, where I can either text one or Facebook both of them for advice. I'm not going to say their name because that's my business and I have privacy for them. I'm not going to put their information out there like that. But I know at least 2. And if you ever had to work to become at that level, you understand all the things that you for years of financial struggle and hardship, and not knowing when your next is going to be available. And what happens is you form these habits of holding on to any and every little thing you possibly can, because you never know what the next is. Those habits get instilled in your DNA. So a lot of people have this notion millionaires are stingy and they're penny pinchers and they're greedy. Some cases, it's true. They are. In some cases, they are greedy. They are penny pinchers. They are stingy. But there's also a few of them who feel I had to work my ass off to get this, and no one gave this to me. So why would I give this to you? And there's been a couple of times in my life where I told myself, I wish someone would just give me this. Just listen, just give me and I'll make it and I'll pay you back. And I promise, all I need is that I make cases to people. And even though they knew I was good for it, I never got it. Now keep in mind, as I got older with the experience of time, these people that I was asking, some of them perceived to have it, but they were just as bad off as I was. But they looked like they had it though, right? So, the image is everything for some people. But I'm so glad they never gave it to me. Because, in my opinion, success is the journey, not just the destination. because there were so many things that I learned during that struggle that helped me understand not just what, but helped me understand why. So my level of success is to grind so hard nobody believes my story when I tell them, except for those who've been there before, right? That's my level of success. You have to work harder at knowing how to work smarter so you can work smarter at working harder. And a lot of people have this work hard. And if working hard got you rich, there will be a lot of multi-millionaire people in retail, a lot of multi-million-dollar people in construction. There'll be a lot of multi-millionaire police officers, lawyers, right? Well, some lawyers. But there will be a lot of these people. See, what a lot of folks don't understand when it comes to like acting and musicians, you don't make money right off the rip, bro. Like, you just don't. There are some cases where you get the exception to the rule, but for the most part, a lot of these people have to put in months, some of them years, before they get their break. Look at athletes. You play for free all through Pop Warner. You play for free all through junior high school. You play for free all through high school. You play for free up until recently because of the NIL, name, image, and likeness rules. But you play for free in college. To what? Hopefully one day get paid to play in the professional league, whatever that may possibly be. Now in American football, the lifespan of a football player, American football player, is 4 to 5 years, somewhere within that range. Now understand something, you've been playing for free for 15 years. And if you make it to the league, and the average lifespan of your career is 4 to 5 years, give or take. It's almost like the money you're getting paid reimburse you for the money that you spent for the 15 years. Right? And then the average person goes broke or files bankruptcy 5 years after retiring from being professional. And a lot of that comes from not financial literacy. I'm not even suggesting a financial advisor. I'm just saying basically no money. Right? Some people put their money in stocks and bonds. I personally, I wouldn't do that. Some people say, well, put my money in the bank. And if I don't have to, I'm not going to. I will put my money in something that I personally have more control of. So you would need to figure out what that is for you. But again, a lot of these athletes, they've spent all these years trying to get there, and now that you finally get there, they want to show out. I'm going on this tangent about the sports to kind of show people what's your level of success, because some people feel once you get that big contract, you made it and you don't have to work anymore. I was told 12 years ago, getting to where you want to be is the sprint. Arriving where you want to be, well, that's the marathon. Because now that you're here, this is the worst time to take a break. This is the worst time to take your foot off the pedal, right? Because now the vultures have seen fresh meat. So your level of success is just beginning. So another level of success. right? So, where is that you're trying to be? Are you trying to just plateau at a certain area? Or are you trying to hit this level and exceed? Now, for me personally, I'm not shaming anybody who wants to be whatever they want to be. Because for those people who think success is top of the mountain, remember, there's only one mountain that's tallest in the world. So there's a variation of mountains to the top. And if you want to get to the goal, so be it. If that's your route, if that's what you motivated you to root for, have at it. Just so that might not be somebody else's motivation. Like I said, I don't want to be able to relax. I don't want to be able to chill. I want to be able to do nothing. Ooh. That's him. That's her. That's them. And I think a lot of us should get to the habit of not shaming people who don't necessarily have the same dream as you. Now, I will say it's kind of cool to have a goal. If you're just wandering aimlessly, well, that's a different story. And again, I'm not going to judge you, but it's one of those things where no one's going to really take you serious because you yourself don't have anything that you're striving for. But if you achieve your goal, cool, have at it. But how do you measure success for yourself? Right? Do you write your goals down every single day that you want to achieve? Have you done that? If not, you might want to look into that. And hell, man, goals don't even have to be monetary. It can be something simple as take out the trash, do the dishes, vacuum, right? Fold the laundry, right? Feed the pets, right? Wash the windows, sweep the balcony, clean the patio, organize the garage. It's little things like that. If you write your list down and stick to it, that's a level of success. Not everyone has to have the same goals, but I honestly truly believe that everyone should have goals, whatever those goals may possibly be. Okay, that's just me. So again, what is your definition of a goal? Hit me up. Social media, Twitter account, social media, Instagram. It's all the same. At the E.I.T.H.R. T-H-E-E-I-T-H-R. Elephant in the room. What's your definition of a goal? And are you the kind of person that needs an accountability partner to achieve your goal? Or are you the kind of individual that you can just do goals by yourself and be fine with that? Which is you. Okay? The next thing I want to get into, next topic I want to talk about. This is kind of I'm not going to say a sensitive subject, but it's definitely something that a lot of people have an issue with. So, are you guys ready? Here we go. So, when it comes to what you believe in, to your personal beliefs, everyone's going to be different. I think what happens is when we get into a world of things being tradition, then it can alter some things, right? So I'm just going to ask this question, and you guys again, you're more than welcome to reach out to social media, the E.I.T.H.R Twitter account. You can get us right here on the podcast by downloading the Spreaker app, E.I.T.H.R, create a profile, and you can chat. When chat, even when the podcast is over, I can chat back. But here's the question I'm going to ask you guys. What's the difference between forcing children to learn one religion, one sexual preference, or one way of thinking, versus face to look, a different expression. Either way it goes, I'm fine. But what's the difference between forcing a child to believe your method versus exposing them to multiple and having them decide which one they want to go with? Now, I understand children are innocent, children are this, children are that. Yes, I was a child, I understand, I get it, I have a daughter, I get it, it makes sense. Yes. However, you as parents, you should also be teaching your child certain versus necessarily sheltering from these experiences. If anyone knows, some of the most sheltered kids growing up tend to be the biggest individuals who experience with things they were told not to when they were younger. We'll just say that. In most cases, right? I know there was a post on social media where there was a father and son, and they had the Bible, and it said our kids should be learning this, and there was a photo right next to it of a parent drag queen teaching children how to read instead of this. And I understand the perspective. I totally understand where they're coming from. I understand their argument. But if you grew up in the 70s or 80s, most of the time we had a teacher that kind of looked like that, didn't we? so, right, with the big hair and the thick makeup and like the teal blue eyeshadow and just the blush all on the cheeks. We kind of had that, even though we believe it was a woman who was teaching us. Kids don't know the difference, right? A lot of kids don't know the difference unless they're told the difference. You know, now this is me as an individual, okay? I went to school with different ethnicities, mainly high school. I knew people with different preferences. And to this day, I never really tripped off of them being whatever the hell they were back then. Right? You just knew they were different. You learn as you go on in life, but you also learn to either be compassionate about it or you learn to have hatred towards it. You're taught that. Sorry, you're taught that. Now, when it comes to sexualizing children and showing them films where same-sex parents and homosexuality flags and you're teaching our children to be gay. This is a Christian country, talking about America. Here's my question. Were you taught to be heterosexual? Or were you born heterosexual? Did you choose to be heterosexual? Or were you born heterosexual? Which one is it? Which is it? Because if you're going to say you chose to be heterosexual, that means you at one point had a choice of being gay. And we all know you don't choose to be heterosexual. You are what you are. Okay. Well, in my opinion, the same thing goes for people who are homosexual. No one chooses to be their preference. They just choose to be out loud with their preference. They choose to not be ashamed or embarrassed with their preference. They choose not to be bullied to be who they are with their preference, right? No one chooses their race. No one chooses their color. So how can anyone choose their preference? It doesn't make any sense. I understand what their logic is, but we all know what fear is. Ignorance is fear of the unknown. So they don't understand it. And whatever they're told, whatever they're taught, whatever they're shown, well, that's the knowledge that they're going to go off of making their decisions later on in life. So certain regions and parts of the United States of America, and I'm sure this is for the other 6 continents too, there are certain areas, and these certain areas are taught different information, despite getting everything from the same source, quote unquote, called news or education. I think if you were to ever expose yourself to people of different things, you will realize that there is no certain race or culture that is whatever the stereotype is. You just have bad people who happen to be certain color, creed, race, and cultures, because everyone's got some of them, right? And I think it's those folks who make it bad for everybody else. A rainbow flag does not teach a child to be homosexual, because a red, white, and blue flag does not teach someone to be American. So that's a cop-out. That's an ignorant cop-out that a lot of people use to hide their bigotry or their ignorance. One or the other, right? You cannot make a child, in my opinion, sexualized unless you sexualize that child. Now, I understand how certain parents are very protective of their babies, and you should be. That's your child. You created that being to be a mini version of you. You just have to ask yourself, what version of you are you to give to the world, right? So when we talk about, teaching your child what certain things are, and you have this feeling exposing them to homosexuality and all these things, let me ask you this question. And again, I understand your perspective, I understand your point, but what the hell is a child beauty pageant? Isn't that sexualizing a child? By putting your daughter, as an example, in a beauty pageant, what are you telling her growing up? That she has to be the most beautiful woman to win something. You're not teaching her that natural beauty is fine. You're teaching her she has to be more beautiful than every other woman around her. But it starts off as being more beautiful than every little girl. Then what are you teaching the little girls that come in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place? They're not as pretty as this girl. That doesn't cause a complex. That doesn't cause anxiety. That may not cause a depression. That doesn't cause a stigma. You have these little girls in these pageantries, makeup, dolled up in these dresses, making these faces, standing in these poses. You don't think there's a man in that crowd looking at that little girl in that dress and that makeup, having thoughts about your child that you entered into this pageant? Because Lord knows men think about the women who enter in Miss America and Miss Venezuela and Miss Mexico and Miss Argentina and all these other pageantries. You don't think we don't see women in that sense? Again, what are you teaching the young girl as she goes to an older woman and goes through these pageantries? This is a general statement, a general question. I'm not questioning anybody who's doing it. It's just how is that not the same as putting a rainbow flag that represents everybody in a classroom? Now again, when you grew up in a certain era, you have certain rules and certain guidelines that you had to live by. And in most cases, it's hard for us to break those rules and those codes, especially if we have to live with them for X amount of decades. And then all of a sudden someone changes those rules. It's very hard to change and adapt. It's very hard to let go and get used to for some people. I understand that. Keep in mind though, the rules that you know as normal were changed from another generation. who feel that your rules are outliners and shouldn't have changed what they thought and the way things were when they were your age. So remember that same energy of you not liking what today is. Remember what your yesterday was, because there's somebody who hates you because you called for a change in the world, right? Now, if you want the world to stay the same as it was when we grew up, then ask yourself, how are we making the world better? Generally speaking, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. The only thing that's 100% in this world is nothing is. But how are we making the world better if we keep it doing the same old without growing and learning? Another thing too, when it comes to this kind of stuff, we're all adapting, and there is no handbook, there is no due date, there is no, okay, by this month, this year, we should have this by this. Now, the people who are in charge of the countries might be thinking that bullshit, but in reality, we're all learning everything, and it's kind of a free-for-all for everybody. Everyone's kind of learning as they go along, and some areas are more aggressive than others, and some areas are more passive than others. And I'm sure when it's being broadcasted to the rest of the world, it looks, oh, they're changing, or these people are way ass slow, or whatever the case may possibly be. But you can't expect the world to grow and evolve if the world stays the way it has been your whole life. Adapt or die. It's a quote from Billy Beane in the movie Moneyball. Adapt or die. But again, how are you not sexualizing your daughter when you put her in cheerleading? Right? My friend Erin Kate made a very good point. She says, I believe it's her niece. She said, I'm very concerned with some of the skirts that they wear. And the dance positions that the girls are in are very non-appropriate in many cases. Okay? So, how is that okay? But listen, if you don't want your child in a classroom learning how to read by a drag queen, it's really, really simple. Don't take your kid to that class. That's it. Don't take them there. I feel, think, and believe that you have the God-given right to not have your child someplace if you don't want your child someplace. And if that's the case, okay. You have that right, ladies and gentlemen. You have that right. But you can't say you are all about freedom when you have massive restrictions on your freedom. And if we are a Christian country, that's bullshit, because what was this country based off of? And if you say it was based off in the name of God, then everything you're saying is hypocritical. There is no one God, because all religions, there is just one God, because all religions praise the same one God. Everyone's trying to get to the same destination. They're just taking different routes, and a religion is nothing more than a different route. So don't hate me because my sky daddy looks different than yours. You feel me?
This is Dave in Auburn, California, and I'm listening to the E.I.T.R with Decal.
So I think a lot of us, when it comes to religion, we're so gung-ho on what we have been taught and what we believe and what we think is right. Listen, if it's all the same God, what does it matter what book it's preached from? If anything, I would imagine you would welcome the difference in the teachings of religion and be like, wow, I never knew that the Quran is almost identical to the Bible. Now, if anyone's ever played the game of telephone back in the day, you understand that when a story is first originated, by the time it gets to the end of the line, something's changed in that story. You lose context because somebody else made an interpretation of it. Okay. All religion says the same thing. It just goes about a different way of doing it. So again, going back to how can we sit back and teach our children this, but not be doing this over other things? Or be that extreme closed-minded, that stuck in our ways of what we think is right, and nothing else is right, except for whatever goes through God I believe. If that is the case, what's the difference between your way of thinking and narcissism? Listen, I don't have to agree with someone, but I can at least attempt to understand where their perspective is and where they stand and where their morals lie. I don't have to agree with it, but I understand. So that way I can explain to somebody else, this is what they believe, this is what they stand on, this is what they defend. I don't believe in that, but that's what they see. That does not make you wrong. It does not make me right. It is what it is. We don't see eye to eye on that. That should be fine. But at least understand somebody, right? A lot of people are extremely closed-minded when it comes to, especially religion, politics, and sexuality, which is weird. Extremely weird. Because we are asking questions about any of those things. It's almost like tribal, but if you don't ask what you need to do, because it's always been that way. I wonder if 50 years people look back and say, well, what's that shit that they're fighting over nowadays? Or are they going to say how stupid it is to them when we give up the shit that y'all argued 50 years ago? Weird. It's really weird. So again, what's the difference? You put kids in sports activities and you give them participation trophies. Okay, you don't want your kid to go ahead and lose because they lost the race. Got it. Well, now you gotta explain to your kid in life that they did their homework. Yes, you did your homework. This is a very far-fetched analogy, by the way. But yes, you did do your homework, but you got the answers wrong. But I did the homework. Yes, you did do the answer. You did your homework, but you got the answers wrong. So why am I not graduating? Because you got bad grades. But I did the homework. Again, very poor analogy. I understand that. Hopefully the sharp people understood it. Everybody else, I'll explain. In the sports analogy, if you don't win the race, you don't get first place. And because there were kids upset they didn't get first place, they had to change the rules to where they got a trophy too. Well, if you don't get an A, B, or at least a C, you don't pass. So now you got to teach these kids who refuse to do their studies why they're not progressing on. Why? Because they're so accustomed to getting participation trophies and everything else, they feel they should be able to graduate too because they did the homework. They practiced, they played, they participated, they didn't win. They went home, they studied, they took the test, they didn't pass. So now you got to explain to them why. And for all the teachers out there who have to deal with these children who are having developmental issues with understanding, parents, you need to help your teachers out by explaining to your kid, here's how life works. Listen, thank you guys very much for listening to the podcast. I will be back on Monday, 3:30 Pacific. Social media, the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R. YouTube, the GNS Inc. You can see all the previous, now 45 episodes. Love you guys. You guys be good.
State ascoltando il podcast E.I.T.H.R con E.I.T.H.R. What up, though? This is La Cabrona Machingona from Kansas City, and you're listening to the E.I.T.R podcast with my boy, D-Cal.